Welcome to PCPerspective.com. It's our weekly podcast time, and as if you didn't notice, Ryan's not here tonight. He's out gallivanting about the not-so-great state of Kentucky. Alan is going to school, and he is not able to make it tonight, so that leaves us with two people, namely myself, Josh Walrath, and...
Jeremy Hellstrom, the hairy one.
Yeah, well, I am the antithesis of Jeremy, in that I have no hair. Anyway, you can get a hold of us at 1-888-38-PC-PER if you have one of those funky things called a telephone, or you can email us at podcast@pcper.com. There is a Twitter from the podcast. No, actually, you can... I'm sorry, I'm getting out of line. You can go directly to our podcast page at pcper.com/podcast. Or you can follow Ryan on Twitter at twitter.com/Ryan Strout or twitter.com/PCPer. So after that terribly, terribly garbled first half, which I rarely ever do, and when I do, I always screw it up, we are finally ready to get on with some hardware news. So Jeremy, I guess it's X79 leaking week. What do we have going on?
Well, I think it was EVGA that sort of started it out because they wanted to show off the X79 dual Xeon board, which is going to be the replacement of that obnoxious SR2 Blackbird that they put out, this being an SR3 or Super Record 3. So you were looking at, again, dual socket gorgeousness that, anything that's going to be CPU emitted, well, I got 16 cores or so. Who cares? But very soon after that, a leak sort of came out, which all of a sudden had Gigabyte and ASUS scrambling to sort of talk about what they've got coming up. And in their cases, both of them are going for multiple boards. In Gigabyte's case, the GY Assassin 2, as we all met back in CES, but you've also got the three brothers, the X79 UD7, UD5, and the UD3. So the color schemes vary. You've got green, orange, blue, and a sort of gray color. So they've gone away from their thou shalt make a single colored motherboard. They've also sort of dropped the whole gun theme, except from, of course, the GI Killer, which does still have what now looks like a small Walther PPK or 9mm as a heatsink in amongst the lime green guts of the motherboard. And not to be outdone, ASUS had to pop out with refreshes for all of theirs as well. So not only do you have a brand new Rampage 4 Extreme, but you've got some of the more standard ones that we're going to run into, the P9 X79 series with some fairly sizable heat sinks on it, and so many RAM slots you're never going to want to fill them, which they carry through into their tough Sabertooth X79. Although this, I've heard good and bad things about. You're looking at pretty much the most complex heatsink system that you will find on a motherboard anywhere. At this point, even the back panel has a heatsink wrapped around it with heat pipes running into it. What I hear about negative problems is that there is indeed active cooling on the lower heatsink, and it is, if you're lucky, maybe a 45mm fan. And for those of us who remember back in the days when heatsinks on motherboards were about that size,
and
they
invariably used the least expensive fans you could even buy.
Yes. Essentially putting the fan on the heatsink brought the cost of the motherboard down. These things, because otherwise you went with a slightly larger heatsink and it was silent cooling and you loved it. But these things just scream. And so I've heard people say that they love the Tough series from ASUS because it overclocks wonderfully and you don't really get the heat spots that you do on some of the other motherboards, especially when you're looking at liquid cooling your major components, so you don't have so much airflow throwing through the case. So this is sort of more up to you. Now, if you want to go all out, there's, of course, the Rampage 4 Extreme, which, oh, wait, they put the same fan on it. it's shaped a little differently, but I'm still worried that it's going to cause a very noticeable scream. And it also happens to be sitting lovingly close to the SATA ports, which I really hope doesn't affect the performance at all. But there's reason to be excited. We barely got to know our old motherboards. The Z68, we waited and waited patiently for months and months. And, well, it was only on the market for what, about 8 months before we're already looking at its younger sister. But Ivy Bridge is still on time. So as far as Intel is saying, we are going to be seeing the 22 millimeter transition and the transition to the Tri-Gate transistors right on time. So March 2012, you may already have the motherboard at this point, but you're definitely going to have a processor to plug it into, it looks like.
Very, very nice. Yeah, as far as I hear, the production started pretty recently on the Ivy Bridge chips. And so Intel, unlike AMD, they like to stockpile these things and have a pretty good chunk of them ready for release. So yeah, March 2012 is the month to watch, and it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to have what out at the time because AMD should have Trinity, which is their. It will be both in both desktop and notebook markets, and that could be a decent little product on the desktop for integrated. It'll have an upgraded, graphics, better processor performance. But yeah, it's going to be a tough road to climb with Intel doing 22 nanometer. But yeah, so Jeremy, going on to the next topic. I know you're kind of a fan of Ultrabooks.
Yeah, we want to delve into the form factor that we've been talking about ad nauseum for months and months.
And have we
Because
ever
it's
seen one yet? I mean, seriously.
they've finally
Yeah.
arrived
Have
in
you held one
stores.
to your breast,
I
whispered
haven't gone
sweet
in store to get one.
nothings in its ear?
Or my
I
ear,
mean, you don't
because I mean
have
they
the
are reflective.
$1,300 that the lowest end one will probably cost,
Yeah.
and you can cut cake with it.
Oh no, no, there are
No?
ones that did sneak under $1,000. Acer's putting out ones that have nine are about $900. They don't actually have an Ethernet port, let alone half of the other plugs you're gonna want on the thing. But hey, they managed to get it, at 89 9 or 899.99. And it looks just like a certain other thin, shiny thing you can buy, which, well, it doesn't really have USB plugs. So, hey, there's a little bit of a difference. Uh, the other ones that are coming out are ASUS. They have more ports. They decided to go an odd way where you're going to need dongles or converters because the full-size plug just isn't going to fit on their skinny little pretty chasey. And those ones are going to be over $1,000. And for some
They
reason,
got big, nasty, pointy teeth on them.
mm, they wouldn't fit.
That
You could probably
Ultrabook's
buy you,
dynamite.
you'll be able to buy like a wrapping around it, which will have the big pointy teeth, but it doesn't come with it. It'll be extra, like the battery will. So they arrived in stores. I have yet to see one actually arrive for full review anywhere officially passed on to somebody by the company that put them out. But from what I've seen, from what people have played, they say, hey, it's nice, it's pretty, it's skinny, but for half the price, I can get something that does twice as much. Yeah, it weighs almost twice as much, and it's a couple of millimeters thicker, which maybe I've heard some people like that.
Wasn't it interesting that what in Jobs' biography, he said that he didn't really like working with Intel because all they want to do is take their ideas and then sell them to their other customers. And is Ultrabooks kind of tapping into that whole really, really small form factor, or is this just kind of an organic extension of what Intel wants to do anyway?
Well, we, in a way, hope it is an organic extension of what Intel wants to do. Problem being, Intel is having some problems with the low power chips. They've seen pretty much the death of Atom. it may kick on for a little while, but I doubt they're throwing serious money into researching it. We're going to be waiting a little while before we see their next generation low power processors. On the other hand, we've heard rumors that there will be Ultrabook-like Llano products come out, where they're aiming for the same sort of form factor. And in a way, I think they'll be able to pull it off a little bit easier just because there's significantly less heat that's going to be produced by these ultra low power processors. And who knows, the Neo might even try and make a comeback for that. Intel has got a little ways to go. ARM could probably, if they felt like getting out of tablets and going into something like this as an extra one, could do it. Apple, on the other hand, has been doing it for forever. Yeah, they did do it with, Intel processors at one point, but it wasn't about the Intel processor, and it wasn't even about what you could do with it. It was about the experience of using it and the fact that it could fit in that manila envelope. Apart from that, there's not really much point in buying an Ultrabook. If you're not capable of carrying around a 13-inch laptop, there's probably something physically wrong with you. So I just don't see paying so much more for something little tiny. Then again, I don't own a cell phone either.
Well, that's two of us, as we always like to hear when we go to like CES with Ryan, and he asks, "Where the hell are you guys? How come I haven't been able to get a hold of you?" And we look at each other with quizzical expressions and think, what did people do without cell phones? Yes, I remember we actually set a place to meet each other, and we made it there.
And if
Shocking.
someone was 5 minutes late, you hadn't already left because, oh, well, it's been 30 seconds. There's no way they're going to make it on time.
Yeah.
Oh, and pagers.
Well, yeah.
So you buying an Ultrabook?
No.
You
don't even have a
slightest
laptop.
urge. Yeah.
Well, it's just that they go obsolete so fast. I'd like to do some gaming on it sometime. And then the stuff that I really want is kind of a little bit more expensive, and I'm just not willing to spend that. So, yeah, I've never had a laptop, which is kind of shocking. But speaking of laptops, we must go on to our next review, or the people will start munching at the ends of their fingers from absolute boredom and that overdose of LSD. So, ASUS is releasing a N55 Core i7 15.6-inch notebook. Matt, our notebook guy, did a quick review of this. This is anymore it's considered a fairly large notebook. For a while there, you go back 5 or 6 years, 15.6 was the standard size of a widescreen notebook, and everybody had one, and people were able to do great things on them and make websites that people read and play games and fun things like that. But everybody wanted smaller is better because nobody wanted to lug around 7-pound notebooks all the time. Except, of course, when you think of people down in South America lugging around 60 pounds of block salt and putting 50 pounds of coffee beans on their head, that 7-pound notebook just doesn't sound nearly as terrible. But since we are becoming this great internet society, we have become physically weak. But aside from that segue, this is a full-size notebook that is based on the Core i7 2500, I believe. It's one of the fastest CPUs around that you can get. Benchmarked very, very well. It's a dang fast thing. It runs also as well with a NVIDIA GeForce GT 555M, which is kind of the lower end discrete graphics. It's still better than the Sandy Bridge integrated graphics, but it's not a huge jump. It's not really a gaming platform. It utilizes the Optimus technology. So battery power for a smaller type battery in this is actually pretty decent. I mean, it's not all day long, but certainly you can get 3.5 to 4 hours charge with regular type workloads. And that's not too terrible for such a product. I mean, if you take it on a plane and watch a movie, you watch 2 hours of movie, you still have some time left on your battery to do whatever or watch a second one. Gaming, it was not so great at, as we well know, but everything else, it did perfectly fine. It is a full-size laptop. It's going to be pretty much a desktop replacement for most part. And the big thing about this is that it comes with a detachable subwoofer. Now, imagine in the 90s, remember that song about a detachable body part? Well, this kind of looks a lot like that. It's this detachable subwoofer you plug in. And even though the speakers are pretty decent without the sub, once you plug that in, then the main speakers in the laptop take all the highs and some of the mid range, and then the subwoofer takes the rest. And the results apparently are quite pleasing for the ear. So somebody who doesn't want to fork out, 30 to 40 bucks for a set of external speakers when they can just get this and it comes with this little subwoofer thing that they plug in and they instantly have much better sound. That's kind of the big selling point of this. This is, a desktop replacement. It's going to be able to do some multimedia, it can do some gaming. It's going to sound decent in movies and that type of thing. So it's it's kind of a funny thing. I've never seen this before. I mean, we've seen laptops that have an integrated subwoofer in there, and those have never been all that great. But in this case, it's an interesting little extra that ASUS is giving. It's not a cheap product, but it is fast. It comes with plenty of memory. Comes with a pretty big hard drive. Comes with a Blu-ray drive, Blu-ray combo, and it's got a shiny finish. So I'm sure that that's going to scratch up really, really nice. And but otherwise, he said, physically it was a decent product. He didn't like the feel of the keyboard very much. It looked a little chintzy and cheap, but otherwise, those were about the only complaints. And if you're going to want a gaming laptop, you probably should look elsewhere. But as a jack of all trades, that is going to give you a nice spacious feel on the keyboard, plenty of screen space, good audio. It's gonna do pretty well. So, Jeremy, do you have any comments about the non-Ultrabook N55?
Well, at least it's going to do what you need it to do. You could actually bring that into work and have a productive day and then take it with a plane on you, and just as long as you charge the battery in between, still be watching, some good movies and annoying everybody with the B&O subwoofer. Because you're like you say, it probably doesn't actually sound that great, but it's something interesting to toss out and pull out if you're doing at a meeting. So, I think that this one, at least, would be worth the chunk of change that it's going to cost you to pick up, especially if you can convince the company to buy it for you.
Yeah, well, I'm really disappointed in Matt. He didn't do any battery tests while playing music with the subwoofer. I mean, that's a huge it's a huge mistake on his part. He really overlooked it. He could have really been a cut above the rest by exploring this kind of functionality on battery life. No comment?
It would have been nice to see, but then again,
Okay.
desktop replacements, you kind of know.
Yeah, it's going to be plugged in. All right, moving along. Corsair, they have certainly made a name for themselves in memory a long time ago. Then they started moving into flash sticks. Then they kind of hit the big time with power supplies. While it hasn't made them a billion-dollar company, it has really helped to define their bottom line and add to it. And today they are having us, well, us being our good friend, what's his name again? Lee and the mouse in his pocket.
Yep, that's the one,
He's
Mr.
going to be
Robotech.
reviewing the HX 1050, which is a 1050 watt power supply. Now, did you have a chance to read over this one? Did you see it? I mean, I'm familiar with the Corsair products, but I didn't see what the great Lee had to say.
Well, I gave it a perusal. It's not often that I need a kilowatt or kilowatt class PSU,
A
but
kilowatt?
a kilowatt, a kilocumquat. Anyway, it's a kilowatt PSU. It's available, which is probably the most interesting thing, for about 225 on Amazon. Not a bad deal at all for a silver 80 plus silver qualified for efficiency HX 1050 from Corsair, which the way that Lee reviews PSUs. If he says good efficiency, good voltage regulation, and clean DC outputs, that usually means that other sites, their reviewers are doing backflips about how absolutely wonderful that is, and it provides clean power. It's sufficient, which is about
Are,
all you can ask for.
are you saying Lee is a little understated in his reviews?
No, he just states the facts, sticks with them, and lets his graph speak for himself, unless he really feels like killing a PSU, in which case he can be a little sadistic, but thorough. Definitely thorough.
Thorough.
So, six PCIe connectors, single 12-volt output, which is a very nice thing. You don't have to deal with different rails and try to figure out which 12-volt connector you should be using on which rail because it might or might not work. You know, everything up to 87.5 amps will be provided, and it won't fluctuate. You've got a mix, which is part of the reason why it's not $300+ because, yeah, your ATX power, it is not detachable like that thing in the song. However, most of the other connectors are, which can be very handy when you only need a certain amount of connectors or if you're trying to route stuff and it's easier to come from the front to the back. So overall, it came out with a silver award, and silver awards from Lee, you know, they're almost as valuable as silver itself. Not quite as valuable as gold, but certainly not something you find every day on the ground. So definitely worth a check if you're looking at a kilowatt class PSU. Problem being, for the most part, a lot of us aren't. You're wanting at least 2 video cards, if not 3, and as many drives as Al sports on a regular day.
And he does sport a
A
lot
lot
of
of
drives,
drives.
which is kind of interesting because he's probably not going to sport as many drives in the next few months as he was hoping due to some lovely, lovely weather in Thailand, which is the
Mhm.
primary manufacturing site of,
Western Digital.
yeah, those greens, blues, and blacks are hitting some
Worth
high
gold.
prices.
Well over
Yeah, just
$200.
2 weeks ago, I was like, you can get 1 terabyte black set of 6 for about $68, $72. Now they're 120, heading towards 140. Kind of a bummer deal, especially for the Thai people.
Yeah. The capital is starting to flood right now.
Yeah, bad deal. But anyway, since we are on the top subject of bad deals for people, we'd like to thank our primary advertisers with a few words from them right here. Ad, ad, ad. And thank you, MSI, for again supporting our wonderful, wonderful podcast. So, Jeremy, gaming, do you like it? Do you have
Uh,
anything to
I
do with it?
I remember liking it.
Do you
Definitely
participate in
remember
such
liking it.
endeavors?
I remember trying to do that, yeah.
So,
Unfortunately,
why,
this thing
why,
called work came around, which, you know, pays for the games that I buy and often I install, but not very often
rarely
do I actually get to
actually?
play the things anymore.
So, why do you say bite me, console boy?
Well, you know, there was a certain person that put out a PC game not too long ago who effectively stated that, you know, PC gaming was perhaps not what people should be focusing on as far as sales go. And it was obvious that he practiced what he preached because, well, Rage has lived up to its name, at least for those of us on the trying to play it on the PC. Well, John Petty Research just came out with his forecasts of the gaming hardware market for PCs for the second half of 2011 and forecast to 2014. You know, the bad news is that he was predicting by 2011, the end, we would have spent about $22 billion on PC gaming, specifically PC gaming. He was wrong. We only spent $19 billion. So, you know, he was 3 billion short. However, you're still looking at an 11% gain in the market from last year. So, trying to state that any market, no matter what you're in, that only managed to grow 11%, kind of says, it points towards which orifice you're talking out of at the time you said that statement. So, where is this coming from? The death was coming because of, consoles, but also people can game on their little, what do they call those things you talk on them? Cell phones. Yeah, yeah, that's it. And
Yeah.
tablets. Well, as it turns out, what you're seeing is these essentially a mobile PC, a cell phone or a tablet, is directly driving up the sales of PC games because the people are playing with it and are used to the high resolution and the quick response and just the sheer amount of things that you can do with it. And guess what? They're not turning around and buying a brand new Xbox. They don't need it. They're going to go buy a new PC, which syncs to this little device and lets them do even more, up to and including broadcast to the TV. So essentially, what a lot of people have been saying, what spelled the death of PC gaming, because I think that's the first time I'd ever heard it, maybe the second. Yeah, people they don't say that very often. The actual things which were being predicted to kill PC gaming are driving PC gaming purchases. And the other odd thing, the first time that I read about this in Digitimes, I had no idea they were doing, but it's a new practice over in Asia for the boutique style computer stores, the Puget Sounds and the Alienwares, or at least as it used to be in the Voodoo PCs. You don't go and buy an entire PC, which is then shipped to you with a gorgeous paint job and beautiful insides. It's You go to the boutique shop and you pick and choose the hardware components that you would like, buying them off the shelf for the off the shelf price plus a bit of a premium, and you assemble it in store with the help of the staff. So they're going to help you guide through the purchases, but instead of saying, "Oh, well, you could buy this, but it's a really good deal, but that hardware is 6 months old. You should buy this brand new thing that came out." What is it? Well, it's new, so you buy it. No, they're actually guiding people through sales and saying, "Well, you could buy that processor. It's not the right socket for that motherboard, though." Or, versus what we get nowadays in America. So all of a sudden, you've got these stores which are actually turning into a major market for PC gamers because they're sort of emulating the whole Apple Genius effect without the attitude, at least as far as I can imply. So, hey, you know what? PC gaming, we get older, but we don't die quickly. We respawn.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Well, one of the releases that is coming up that has already been released for consoles, but not yet for PC, is that of Batman Arkham City. Is it Arkham City?
It is.
The sequel to what, Arkham Asylum?
That was the name of it. Yeah.
Good Lord, where is my mind going that I can't remember the names of games? But anyway, it was, kind of a game of the year product back in the day, and it was a heck of a little title. A lot of people really enjoyed. Well, this sequel is expanding. It's bigger, it's better, and not to use any other South Park things, bigger, longer, uncut. No. It's going to be coming out for the PC on November 15th. Now, this should be a decent little title for the PC. They're doing extra things for it. It's going to be a little bit sharper looking. It's going to have a lot more physics type things in there. And they finally released what the minimum system and recommended system requirements are. Did you read over these, and have you played the Arkham games before?
Well, I've never been much of a DC fan myself, but I've watched some benchmarks because the benchmarks for the games at least seem interesting. With the original ones, you're looking at the physics that they had there, and with this one, you've got some really nice high tessellation, and as you said, if you've got an NVIDIA card, you're gonna get a little physics support. So keep an eye on the ground for the papers to be fluttering about.
Papers.
Papers. But hey, it doesn't actually look too bad. I mean, if you're willing to put, the minimum effort into it, uh, cards of several generations ago, the NVIDIA 8800, the ATI 3800 were mentioned as the bare minimums, with a dual core 2.4 gigahertz CPU. Now you want the full thing, you're looking at least a 460 or 6850. Again, really you can pick those up for a reasonable amount of cash. And if you have already got one, maybe you could throw in a second one, and you might get some nice DirectX 11 sites. You might get some nice physics sites, but you're probably going to be playing it by yourself because, sorry guys, just not into the Batman.
Well, it's not co-op either, and I don't. Is there multiplayer this time?
I thought that was implied.
Huh. I have no
It might
idea.
not have been, though.
Could be. But anyway, you may have heard, but there was a recent software release that is kind of a big thing called Battlefield 3. And do you think we possibly covered it enough last week? Or the week before? Or the week before that?
Mhm. Yeah, and then
But
there were the
anyway,
preview videos.
yeah. Anyway, our good friend Ryan, who is not here because he's out enjoying himself at our expense and our labor, he put up a bunch of links of articles that he had written himself from the sweat of his brow that he profited from yet again. I'm just going to occupy Ryan's house. I'm just going to do it. He
Hey,
could pay me to live there. Occupy Ryan's house. Occupy PC Per. I am the 33% of the full-time guys on this site. No, that doesn't work for you?
I was trying to figure out a way
Do you
that we
have to
could
get a
give
green
Ryan
card to occupy his house? I'm curious.
squatters' rights, isn't it? You don't have to be a
Damn
citizen to do
Canadians.
that, do you?
Maybe. But the interesting thing is that Ryan is shelling out some money for our own server. So if you would like to join up and play some of the folks from PC Per, or some of the Fragging Frogs, or some of the folks from the forum, you can go and we can post where that is. I believe you can find it on our site and join up, or you can go into the Battlefield 3 server browser and type in PC space perspective, do a search, and you will more than likely find our server. So hop on, get some fragging on, and go to that 100 level 150 cap that we're seeing. That's worth some 3 million points of experience. I played for half an hour last night and I got like 5 points. So that tells you how long you got to play that damn game to get to the top level. Now
Yeah.
what's the other title that's coming up? How are we done
Well,
talking about gaming? Come on, go ahead.
now we're just going to quickly cough up, the next episode of Elder Scrolls. Skyrim. We've been waiting forever. You can actually tell that very clearly by the system requirements which were set out today, which clearly state that, you probably should have a DirectX 9 capable video card. Read that as, yeah, we've been in development so long we weren't even thinking about DX11, so it's going to look the same on the PC as the console, and yeah, maybe we'll put out a patch later on. On the other hand, it's going to be a little bit more well written and interesting than Crisis 2. Other than that, we know very little about it. It should be fun, it should be interesting, but it won't be quite as pretty as Battlefield 3. Although wandering around with your melee weapon out will probably work a lot better on that game.
I don't know. I wasn't all that impressed with BF3's graphic. I mean, it looks good, but I don't know. It just wasn't very clean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not used to gritty
Yeah, it's that cinematic effect that everything has now.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Amy.
shall we get on to emails?
Yes, let somebody else fill content instead of us.
Oh, for goodness sakes. All right. Well, I'll take the first one, and then you can grab the second. So, email from Corey about safe GPU temps. I am running two ASUS EAH 4890 cards in Crossfire X. With the way my motherboard, the ASUS P6T, is set up, the two cards are right next to each other. I have three PCI by 16 slots, but the third only runs at by 4, and the Crossfire X ribbon won't stretch that far. So that's why I have them next to each other. This results in the top video card having its fan completely blocked by the bottom card. While playing Battlefield 3 at high settings, getting on average 30 frames per second, the blocked GPU reaches temps of over 90 degrees Celsius. What is the danger zone for GPU temperatures? How harmful is it to run a GPU at this temperature for a few hours at the time? Well, most of these GPUs have been tested to run at about 100 to 103 degrees centigrade. So you're getting close to that area, and certainly the fans will be screaming on these puppies, but it shouldn't kill it outright. Now, over time, for a couple of years, it could cause issues, but by that point, they're kind of hoping that you'll just say, to hell with it. I'll get something that's 3 times as better for less than the same price that I bought these for, and go on from there. But at 90 degrees, 90 to 95, you're going to be okay, but that is getting pretty toasty. I'd be worried about other components in your case getting warm due to that. So make sure you have good airflow. Do your best to kind of, create a little separation in between those two cards. You can not bend, but you can kind of push
Put a
the
shim
cards a
in
little
there.
bit. And, yeah, shiv them or something.
Shim.
Yeah, shim, not
Shim.
shiv. Well, you could still shiv your cards, and maybe you only get 5 extra years in the pen for that, but who's to say? But
And wait
yeah,
until you've upgraded.
You can keep using them for a while, but geez, anymore. 4890s, they're decent cards still, but not very much longer now before you can buy something that's under $200. It's just going to blow both of them away. So keep your eye out, and but for the time being, they're going to do fine. Jeremy, grab the next one.
Oh, it's John from What He Needs to Play. So we're back into gaming, Josh. Taunting us with what we could be doing instead of just talking about. But no, we're going to continue to talk about it. Well, John, it seems, was laid off in February 2009 from a company that had employed him for 7 years. Back in those days, he was playing Far Cry 2 and Fallout 3, which pretty sure wasn't 7 years ago, was it? Please tell me it wasn't.
No, not quite. 7 years
But
ago would have been
the first
Doom
one?
3 and Far Cry.
Yeah. So either way, it worried me for a second that it had actually been that long. But after losing the job, he basically shut down and became a different person, quit gaming, quit anything having to do with computers, unless it involved sending a resume, and fell completely out of touch regarding computer technology and games. So after 300 resumes sent, congratulations, he finally found a job again in September 2010. So last month or so, or September 2011, I suppose, in the last month or so, unless Ryan pulled this out from who knows how long ago, but in the last month or so, he's been thinking about going back to the PC because, he needs his fix. So he's got the desire to get his A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus certifications and game again. Well, of those 4, go back to gaming. The rest, I hate to say it, but, they're out of date by the time you get the certificate. You spend a lot of money and a lot of time on what you could be doing gaining job experience. Then again, I might just be better. But he's been spending time listening to us and trying to figure out, what sort of games he has missed in the past that we would suggest to him. The latest ones he's picked up are BioShock 2 and Stalker Call of Pripyat. Good deal, $10 a piece. So he's sort of wondering, what is it that he's missed over the years? And so I'm sort of thinking back about, what has actually come out recently that was worth the money. So,
Gosh, I'm gonna have to open up my Steam folder and see what the hell there is.
yeah, I sort of did that, and it was a little bit.
Batman Arkham Asylum.
Hey, I've
That's
heard of that one.
Who's
that?
Hey, look, somebody's dressed in their UK stuff.
Who? What? Me? Can you hear me?
Hey, look, your place looks about as clean as mine.
Ryan's
yeah,
just
it's
going to
actually
recommend
pretty bad.
buying the old NBA games. It's not worth listening to him.
So yeah, Batman Arkham Asylum might be a good one. And plus rereading his thing, he was not talking about 7 years. He was employed for 7 years, got laid off. February
So it's-
2009.
okay,
So those are the games
that's a
she's
hell of a
playing
lot more
around
stuff.
there, which is right where it needs to be. Geez, what has he missed? Crisis 2. I don't think he's really missed anything there.
I'm assuming he will have picked up Deus Ex HR. I mean, I find a lot of the time I get stuck, playing Sid Meier's Civ 4, sometimes Civ 5 if I'm feeling like dumbing down a bit.
Portal 2.
X3,
That was a good
Portal 2.
message from the IRC channel.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think Portal games are definitely one you want to hit up for sure. If we're talking about games that we're talking about we're in the email section here, right? By the
yep.
way, hey,
That
podcast
is.
listeners, Ryan Trout joined in now.
See, our podcast is improved by leaps and bounds
So
already.
have we been? Has it just been you guys going back and forth for the whole hour?
Yeah, and
Steve
my
thickened out.
voice has held out, and so has Jeremy's patience and colon. But let's not go there.
Nice, nice. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Let's see.
Duke
Where are
Nukem
you guys
3,
at?
hey, you might want to try it if it's really cheap just to realize what they did with that franchise because if you've been playing for games for that long, you do remember. You might want to find out for 10 or 12 bucks.
Okay, I've got a great one that I have sunk way too much time in. Defense Grid: The Awakening. Get
Oh,
it for $5, and it's so damn addictive, fun to play, cheap, still pretty good graphics. You'll hate me for it. Hate me.
Time
Sins of
sync.
Solar Empire. That's another good one.
oh, and the add-ons. There's quite a few add-ons for
Yeah,
that one as
yeah,
well.
yeah. All kinds of fun
Uh,
things. The Left for Dead's.
Uncharted.
People seem to like those.
I never actually got around to playing the Uncharted's. I've heard good thing about those. I did spend a little bit of time with Red Faction, the Rebellion, Revolution. It was amusing wandering around just bashing up scenery.
Team Fortress 2.
It used to be fun, but now it's gone insane. They gave me
Yeah, that's
an award for not ever wearing a hat.
You got an award for
yeah.
that?
Apparently, yeah.
That's pretty awesome, actually. I need awards for not wearing hats.
Yeah, I was going to failed that already. So yes, those
Uh,
are a few things that you could possibly get. Ryan, do you have anything else to add to this?
no, I think I'm chances are you hit all the good ones while I was not here. So I'll trust you on that.
All right. Do you want to take our fifth email? Do you know what our fifth email is? Are you logged in that you can see
Is it from Thane?
from Thane?
Our email from Thane, who is in South Africa, it's in to tell us, "Great show!" Exclamation point. I think that's
Two of them.
pretty accurate. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. It's nice.
Thank
So
you.
now we
Thane.
are on to our hardware and software picks of the week. Since I'm in charge and Ryan is the lowly peon, I'll be making him go first. So go
Oh,
first.
damn it! I actually have one this week too, and I think it's a pretty good one. This is the Seagate Free Agent Go Flex upgrade cable. Now, I had never used these before, but what's interesting is so the Seagate Free Agent Go Flex product is external hard drive fit here is that you have swappable cables on them, right? So there's USB 2, USB 3, FireWire 800, et cetera, et cetera. So what's cool about this is that I found that you could order these separately. I bought an external hard drive that was a 25 or a 2.5 inch 7200 RPM drive, nice and fast. But that adapter comes off, and you can plug any hard drive into it, an SSD, a standard hard drive, a 2.5 inch drive, anything you want, and all of a sudden you now have a USB 3 USB dongle attachment. I think maybe a year ago or something, Alan recommended something just like this. It was a white cable, but it was only USB 2. This is USB 3, so you get the benefits of added transfer speeds on even on like a spindle-based drive, 2.5-inch, 7,200 RPM drive. I'm seeing read speeds of 75, 80 megabytes per second, which is great when you're doing things like copying Battlefield 3 from system to system to system. So this was, and for $19, $20 essentially with free shipping if you have Amazon Prime, it's a pretty good deal. And again, this is meant for an upgrade to their external hard drives. Like if you have, it's a pretty cool idea. If you have an external hard drive that was USB 2, the logic and the chip is actually in this little separate dongle, so you can attach that to your current existing external hard drive, and boom, you're upgraded to USB 3. Or if you're like probably us on the podcast and you have spare hard drives kind of sitting around, you can use this as a handy way of connecting it with USB 3 to get some pretty good connection speeds. So that is my pick. Free Seagate Free Agent GoFlex upgrade cable USB 3.0.
Hey, way to go on that lightning fast quick pick. Quick pick.
Close.
Jeremy.
Well, I've actually been having a lot of fun with other people's iPads too. It seems really amusing that I can scare the hell out of them after they've said about how secure Apple products are, when I can take a piece of cardboard. You don't just need the smart cover, you just need to be able to block all light coming to the front of that iPad too. And if you follow a certain procedure where you put it in an almost shut out state, completely block off the light, put it and hit cancel, you are now back on their desktop. Everyone's been talking about the smart cover, but I had to do a proof of concept, and yeah, if you can find a surface which will completely block all light going to the front of that iPad too, you will be back on their homepage in no time at all, and they will stop saying how much better Apple is at security.
That's awesome.
iPad 2. I don't think it works on the iPad at all.
Huh. Well, wonder when the firmware is going to come out to change that around.
Probably not too long.
No. All right, my pick. Since Bulldozer fell on its face so badly, not like it's a terrible processor, it's just not that great. I had so many friends that were waiting for this, and they bought like AM3 Plus boards. They were just waiting to finish it with Bulldozer. Wait till they get their hands on it. And the reviews came out, and they just got so angry. They went out and bought Phenom 2 X6s. So you can get a Phenom 2 X6 1090T for like less than $164. I saw a special on one the other day for $149. The sales are ongoing. These are good processors. They're unlocked. You can run them at 3.8 to 3.9 without any problems, even, not even having to bump the voltage up. You'll get as good, if not better performance than the 3.6 gigahertz Bulldozer. So it's a nice product. It's a nice price. It's not quite an Intel i5 2500K, which you can get for another $50 or so. And it certainly isn't it the 2600K or the recently released 2700K, but that's $350, I think. Did you ever get one of those, Ryan?
No, I have not actually gotten one of those. I wouldn't really have time to be testing any of it right now. I've got all the Sandy Bridge E stuff that's just kind of flooding its way in. So trying to hammer through some motherboards there.
Behind you?
No, this behind me is like 9500 GTs. I mean,
Wow.
Here, actually, let me move this chair, and it's way worse than you think.
See, that's a picture I needed for the post this morning when I was complaining about the overstocks of old graphics cards, and that's why no one gives a care that the new generation's coming out.
Are you trying to tell me I am personally responsible for all of those overstocks?
Well, no, you actually bought them.
Well, I didn't pay for most of these, to be perfectly honest. Yeah.
You're storing
There's some
them
hard
for
drives.
friends.
There's some 9800 GTs in there. Stuff like that. Yeah.
That's pretty. At least my room's kind of organized. And sort of. See, look, all the boxes are stacked nicely.
Very well done.
Every single one of them. Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. So anyway, do you want to close out since you traditionally do that, Ryan?
Sure, I could do that for you. If you guys would do so kindly, we would appreciate if you would share this podcast with your friends and family, enemies, whoever you wanted to do. PCper.com/podcast is the URL for that. Spread that out, post it wherever you want, write it on chalkboards, write it on the street, and paint whatever it is you want to do. PCper.com/podcast. We really appreciate that. And then Twitter.com/PCper if you want to be updated on all the latest news and reviews as they go live on the website. Also, Facebook.com/PCper. We do that kind of stuff there too as well. And actually, I think for the first time ever, I used Facebook page to post a bunch of pictures from BlizzCon because I just didn't have enough time to kind of organize them into an article. So I just kind of pushed them all up to the Facebook page because we had like a 20 megabit upload speed from the booth. I could just mass upload them and let people kind of go through and look at them, and that was kind of easy that way too. So sometimes we put extra stuff on there as well. So if you go to facebook.com/PCper and like that, you'll get those updates as well. So,
and to reiterate, BF3 server.
Oh yes, we do have a Battlefield 3 server. You can get to it actually with bf3.pcper.com, but I can't remember the port number off the top of my head. I don't know if you have to include that when you go in to add the server.
25200?
25200, is that what you think it is?
Going off the game tracker info.
Very cool. So yes, we have that. Please come in and join. We always want to make sure we have that full of people so that if I need to do performance testing or any other guys need to do performance testing, we have servers with people to shoot us. That would be a benefit to us. So please join us. And if you go to the PC Perspective forums and go into the gaming forums, there should be more information there. If we're going to do like a virtual LAN party or something like that, I think we're thinking about doing that this weekend. So make sure you check out that as well. Anything else to add from you guys?
No. I guess we can go towards the closing. So,
are you taking that from me, or you want to do that? Let's have you do it. You ran the whole thing. Let's go.
Yeah, my throat has been very dry. I'm
just here.
Drink some more. But that's it for tonight. Thanks for joining us for the show. We hope that you listen again and again. Share this with other people that you know, love, and sometimes hate. And with that, we say good night. And I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Ryan Shrout.
And that's PC Perspective.